Have you ever felt like you're living your own life as a background character? Have you ever measured your worth by how wanted you were instead of how whole you already are? Or how about have you ever looked back and realized you were bending so much for someone else you forgot you even had a spine? You know that moment in a movie when the music shifts and the lights get golden and the character realizes, wait, the star of this story is me. Yeah, well, that's me right now. Cue the montage, cue the makeover, cue the catchy theme song. Because, honey, I am entering my main character era, and y'all are coming with me. For the past 20 years of my life, I have put a man at the center of my story. I treated them like the plot line and myself as like a side character. I pedestaled them, I overgave, and I thought their love was proof that I mattered. My worth was measured by how wanted I was, how much I could give, how much I could shrink to keep someone else comfortable. But not anymore. Welcome back to Chasing Stability, where the in between is all about finding your way back to being the main character in your own life. I'm Mackenzie, and this episode is for the girls who confused being chosen for being seen, for the ones who gave everything only to feel empty, for the ones who thought their value was written in someone else's eyes, or for the girls who thought being loved by him meant she mattered. And for the women, we are now. The ones realizing her worth was never supposed to be outsourced like that. I've been there. Hell, I have lived there for quite some time. But I'm here now, stepping into the role I was always supposed to play, the main character. And this is my story of reclaiming that energy. Not because I suddenly became fearless or perfect or fixed, honestly, far from it, but because I got tired of making a man my plot. So if you're nodding along as you're listening to this, you get it. Because becoming the main character doesn't happen in some big dramatic moment like in the movies. It sneaks up on you in the quiet realizations, the late night tears, the times you bend so far for someone else that you finally start asking yourself, why am I always the one doing the bending? So today we're breaking it down, the ways we accidentally make ourselves side characters, the little lies we tell ourselves to justify it, and the power that comes when you finally flip the script. Because your life doesn't need a co-star to be worth watching. Unless I guess maybe it's a young Brad Pitt. No, but in all seriousness, it just needs you. For most of my life, I didn't realize I was living like a side character in my own story. I was the girl always cheering someone else on, rearranging my schedule for their plans, making sure they felt loved even when I was running completely on empty. I was the girlfriend who remembered every detail, made the birthday special, did the little things that made their life easier. And you know what I got in return? Usually a bare minimum, hey, thanks. Or worse, nothing at all. It felt normal because everywhere I looked, women were taught to be givers first. We were praised for being selfless, for holding everything together. But what I didn't see at the time was how much I was abandoning myself. Every time I bent until I broke, every time I silenced what I wanted so someone else could be comfortable, I was shrinking a little more. Here's the wild part, to be honest, though. It almost made me feel powerful. Like, ooh, look how much I can carry. Look how much I can give. Look how strong I am, even though I really shouldn't have to be. But the truth is, it wasn't power. It was self-abandonment disguised as strength. I wasn't living my story. I was writing myself as the supporting role in someone else's script. And the problem with playing supporting roles for too long is that you forget what it feels like to actually be seen. You start to believe your only worth is in what you can give away. Think about it. How many times have you overextended yourself only to look back and realize the person that you were doing it for wasn't even paying attention? How many birthdays did you plan? Fights did you diffuse? Or sacrifices did you make thinking, oh, this will prove I'm worth keeping, only to be left wondering if they even ever noticed you at all? Eventually, you get to the main point here, and it's a hard truth. Being wanted by someone isn't the same as being valued. And I think this is something that's extremely hard for you to comprehend when you're young, but it's still hard to comprehend it when we're old as well. Being wanted is shallow. It's about what you can provide in the moment, your energy, your attention, your body, your time. Being valued is deeper. It's about someone recognizing your presence as sacred, your voice as necessary, your heart as something to be protected. And even though most of us aren't little girls anymore, many of us, myself included, confuse the two. We get addicted to being wanted because at least it feels like something, right? At least it keeps us busy. At least it fills the silence, but it's not the same thing. If you've ever thought, if I just give a little more, maybe they'll finally love me the way I need them to, you know exactly what I'm talking about. That's not love. That's hustling for worthiness, and that's a damn audition. And I don't know about you, but I don't think main characters do auditions for their own story. They just are the story. There's a difference between loving someone well and losing yourself for them. And I didn't know the difference for a very long time. People will tell you that love requires sacrifice, and that's true. But sometimes along the way, I think we blur the line between sacrifice and self-abandonment. I used to think love meant giving until you had nothing left. That if I sacrificed enough, eventually the relationship would balance out and I'd be rewarded. But there's healthy sacrifice, the kind where you bend because you want to, because it makes both of you better. Like when you compromise for the good of the relationship. Maybe you pick a restaurant your partner likes even though you wanted something else. Or you go to their family event when you'd rather stay home and just absolutely do nothing because you know it matters to them. Sacrifice is choice. It's about giving without losing yourself. And then there's self-abandonment, the kind where you shrink yourself, silence yourself, and deny yourself so someone else can be comfortable. That's when the giving never stops. It's when you stop voicing your needs altogether. When you fold so many times for someone else that you start forgetting what you even like, what you even want. That's not partnership anymore. It's disappearing. And for me, how I know I wasn't sacrificing, I was abandoning myself, was through these little things right here. I'd stop seeing certain people because he told me that they were annoying, or I'd change how I dressed because he didn't like the attention it brought me, or I'd keep saying it's fine when it wasn't because I was scared that if I spoke up, I'd be too much, or just in general, he would leave. That's not love. That's erasing yourself to make someone else more comfortable. And the sad part is I used to call that strength. I thought it made me a good girlfriend, a good partner, someone who could handle it. But if your relationship only survives because you're constantly silencing yourself, is it really a relationship or is that just a performance? Main character energy means learning the difference. It means realizing that compromise isn't supposed to cost you your identity. It's not supposed to erase the parts of you that make you you. And if someone's love requires you to abandon yourself, that's not love, that's control, and it's definitely not sustainable. One of the hardest lessons I've had to learn, and maybe you've been there and felt this one too, is that being wanted doesn't mean being valuable. For years, I thought if someone wanted me, that meant I was enough. That if he called or texted, asked to see me, even if it was at 2 a.m. or on his own terms, that meant I mattered. But being wanted is more about what someone can get from you. It's about access. It's your time, your energy, your body, your attention. Being valued is about someone recognizing who you are, your mind, your heart, your soul, your presence, and the difference between the two is everything. When you're just wanted, you're convenient. You're a moment. You're an option. But when you're valued, you're chosen with intention. You're cared for, not just called when it's easy. You're invested in, not drained. I can think back to so many times where I mistook one for the other. Like when I dated someone who only seemed to really notice me when he was bored or lonely or needed something. And I convinced myself that was love. That was proof I mattered. He wanted me, sure, but he didn't cherish me. And yet I told myself that being wanted by him was enough. Maybe you've experienced it or you've witnessed it yourself where you start performing for scraps, overanalyzing texts like their poetry, bending your entire personality to stay in their spotlight, hoping that if they keep choosing you, eventually it'll turn into love. But all it really ever turns into is emptiness for you. Because let's just be honest, wanting someone and valuing someone aren't even in the same category. They're not even on the same planet. Being wanted is about them. It's about their desire, their convenience, their timing, and being valued. That's about you. It's about respect. It's about someone recognizing your heart, your effort, your soul, and treating it with care. And you deserve both, right? But if you can only have one, trust me, choosing value is the only way to go. Because here's what happens when you confuse the two. You end up hustling for breadcrumbs of attention, mistaking them for love. You start building your worth on whether or not you're picked, but being picked doesn't mean anything if you are not valued. Let me say that again. Being picked does not mean that you are being seen or valued. Once the shift happens, you realize being picked is not the prize and being seen is. And if someone can't see you beyond what you give them, then their wanting you isn't actually a gift. It's a huge warning. And the thing about warnings is they don't always come as red sirens blaring in your face. Sometimes they come as quiet wake-up calls, subtle moments that at the time don't seem big, but later they replay in your head like a highlight reel. The unanswered text when you were pouring yourself out, the thank you that never came after you bent over backwards, the way they rolled over in bed when you were crying yourself to sleep one night. These are the wake-up calls, the little jolts that remind you you're not being valued here. And the more you start to notice them, the harder they are to unsee. But other times the warning signs come in so big you have no ability to avoid them. You can only listen. For me, the first one like this was my health. Getting sick was like the universe grabbing me by my shoulder and saying, you cannot live like this anymore. Suddenly, I couldn't overextend myself for anyone else because I barely had enough energy to keep myself standing. I realized real fast who was there for me when I wasn't useful, when I wasn't pouring out constantly. And spoiler alert, it wasn't the people I thought that it would be. Then, along with all the sickness came the heartbreak, the kind that shakes you down to your bones. The breakup that makes you realize how much of yourself you gave away trying to be perfect for someone else. The kind where you look back and think, did I even exist in that relationship, or was I just a mirror reflecting what he needed me to be? It was in those moments, sickness, heartbroken, and stripped down, that I finally saw it. I had made everyone else the main character of my life for a very long time, and I was exhausted, and I was bitter and lost because of all of it. Wake-up calls don't always arrive when you're ready. Sometimes they come in the middle of a fight, or sometimes in the middle of silence. Sometimes it's when you're scrolling Instagram and you see the life someone else has moved on to while you're still healing from them and all of the wreckage they caused you. But every wake-up call has one purpose: to remind you that you cannot stay asleep in a life that isn't yours. Pain has a way of clarifying things. When you're too weak to perform, or you are too heartbroken to chase, or you are too tired to pretend, you see yourself more clearly than ever. That was my turning point. That was the moment I knew I can't keep living like the background music to someone else's scenes. But it's different for everyone. Small or big wake-up calls, they all make us wake up. And main character energy doesn't come from pretending everything's fine. It comes from being brave enough to admit that it's not, and deciding you deserve better than the bare minimum you've been putting up with from whatever or whoever it may be. But once you finally decide you deserve better than the bare minimum, things get really, really quiet. When you stop people-pleasing, stop overgiving, stop twisting yourself into knots to hold a relationship together, the noise drops. And for the first time in a really long time, you're left with just you. At first, that quiet feels brutal. The empty phone, the weekends without plans, the moments where you instinctively reach for someone who isn't there anymore when you wake up in the morning. It feels like loneliness, like loss, like maybe you've made a mistake. But stay there in that moment for a minute, because that same quiet is also where the shift really begins. The silence that feels unbearable at first eventually becomes space. Space to breathe. Space to ask yourself who you are without constantly orbiting someone else. The space to ask yourself, who do you want to be? I remember when I had one of my first quiet seasons. No guys texting, no relationship to distract me, no one validating my worth with a good morning or a good night. And at first, I hated it. I thought the quiet meant I was failing. But slowly I realized it was the first time in my life I wasn't performing. I wasn't giving or fixing or over-explaining. I was just existing in my own peace. And that's where the main character energy really starts to root down. Not in the spotlight, not in the applause, but in the quiet moments where you start to choose yourself without an audience. So if you're in the season right now, that is the quiet one and the one that feels like nothing is happening, I promise you, it's not empty. It's not wasted. It's the soil where everything new is about to grow from. So root down and start believing in yourself. And once you start seeing yourself come through again, this is what I call reclaiming the shine. It's that moment you wake up one day, look in the mirror, and realize the sparkle that you thought was gone has just been buried under years of people pleasing. And now, piece by piece, you're dusting it off. It doesn't happen all at once. At first, it's small things, wearing those outfits you used to avoid because he didn't like it, or blasting the music you secretly loved when your friends all used to roll their eyes at it. Then it's the bigger things, saying no when you mean no, saying yes when you actually want to, and realizing you don't owe anyone a damn thing for either, ever. And here's where the edge comes in. You'll also realize how much you don't miss. Like suddenly you're not stressing about why some guy took 3 hours to text you back because you're too busy rewatching your comfort show with takeout you didn't have to share. You're not scheduling your weekend around someone else's mood. You're not babysitting a grown-ass man's emotions or dialing down your sparkle because it makes people feel less than. You're entering the bliss. And with that freedom comes lightness. Joy starts to creep back in. You laugh louder. You dance like no one is watching again. You stop dimming yourself to be accepted. That's the shine. And it's not something anyone else can give you. It's yours. It always has been yours. And now you're finally letting it out. So reclaiming your shine isn't about becoming someone new. It's about remembering who the hell you are and who you were before you started shrinking and giving yourself permission to take up space again. Being single this time around has taught me the quiet power of identity. For years, my worth was wrapped up in being someone's someone, a girlfriend, a partner, a plus one, blah, blah, blah. I thought that was my role. But when all of that falls away, you're left asking, who am I when no one's chasing me? And that's where the work begins. You remember hobbies you loved before you were distracted by someone else's needs. You reconnect with friends you might have neglected. You reclaim the pieces of yourself that were buried. That's main character energy. Rediscovering your story, your joy, your identity. This isn't just an idea, it's daily practice. It's celebrating small wins without needing someone else to validate them or investing in yourself the way you used to invest in relationships. It's the simple act of remembering that your story is worth building even when no one else is watching. It's making decisions that align with your peace instead of someone else's comfort. So maybe you spent years playing the sidekick like me. Maybe you gave your worth away, hoping someone else would hand it back to you. Maybe you forgot how to clap for yourself. But that doesn't mean the story is over and you can't start again. What I've realized is main character energy isn't some big dramatic reveal. It's not walking into the room like you own it every single day and everyone just fall at your feet like it's your new personality reveal in the movies. It's smaller than that. It's deciding you don't need someone else to clap for you before you celebrate yourself. It's catching your own reflection and thinking, damn, she's been through it. But look at her now. Look at her go. Look at that shine coming back through. It's fun. It's silly. Like when you're in the car blasting music, pretending life is a music video, or when you order dessert just for you and don't feel like you have to share. It's in those little choices where you stop shrinking, where you stop asking, is this too much? And start saying, actually, this is exactly enough and who I am and who I am always going to be. So if you're in that place right now where you feel like you've been supporting cast in everyone else's story, let this be your sign to step into your own spotlight. Whatever that looks like for you. Wear the outfit, say the thing, take up the space, let people whisper if they want to. That's background noise. And you're not standing in the background anymore. You didn't fight like hell to get your shine back to stand in the crowd, right? You are the main character, always have been, always will be. The plot twist is just finally realizing it. So today I'm leaving you with a push to make you shine brighter today. Because you know you are that bitch, especially in your own life. So go buy the outfit that you've been waiting to buy. Take yourself on a trip. Say no to the situationship that's draining you. Live like the movie is about you, because it is. And anyone who comes into your life from here on out, that's just your supporting cast. Your story doesn't begin or end with them. It begins and ends with you. I hope you all have a fire lit under your ass to go be you unapologetically, as much as I'm feeling that in my life these days. I am so thankful for every single one of you that listens. I hope you felt seen and understood and encouraged to claim your own main character energy. I love you all so much, and I hope the rest of your week is filled with love and the music from the end of your favorite rom-com from the early 2000s. This is Chasing Stability, and I will meet you in the in-between next Tuesday.